Have you ever woken up one morning and realized something that used to happen so naturally just doesn't anymore? That quiet moment when your body used to greet the day with confidence, and now there's only stillness. I've seen that look in so many men, the hesitation, the silent question, is this the start of the end? But what if it isn't the end at all? What if your body is simply waiting for a signal to wake up again? For years, I've studied what happens deep inside when that morning response fades, and I've discovered it's not just about age, it's about communication. The brain, the nerves, and the blood vessels slowly stop talking to each other the way they used to. But here's the part that most men never get told: you can restart that conversation. No pills, no surgery, just a few simple, precise techniques that speak directly to your body's natural erection system. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, starting with the science behind why this works, and then guiding you through 3 specific points that can help you wake up strong again. When I first started studying why men lose their morning erections, I realized something that most doctors never say out loud. It's not just about aging, it's about communication breakdown. The body's natural system for creating firmness is like a perfectly timed orchestra. The brain sends a spark, the nerves deliver the message, the blood vessels open, and everything rises in harmony. But over the years, one by one, those players start missing their cues. Blood vessels stiffen as their elastic walls wear down, a process research in the Journal of Sexual Medicine calls vascular aging. The same study found that after age 50, blood flow to the pelvic region can drop by more than 25%. Add in slower nerve conduction, meaning those electrical messages take longer to travel, and it's no wonder that what used to happen effortlessly now feels unreliable or completely absent. What most men don't realize is that this loss isn't a total shutdown. It's like a connection that's gone quiet. Think of your nerves as old phone lines covered in static. The signal is still there, just weaker. Every time you try to call, the message struggles to get through. That's why even if you feel aroused, your body sometimes doesn't respond right away. But here's the hopeful twist: communication can be restored. The nerves can relearn, the blood vessels can adapt, and the reflex that once fired automatically can wake up again if you send the right signal. And that signal doesn't come from a pill. It comes from precise physical stimulation that wakes the nervous system where it matters most. You see, the body doesn't truly forget how to function. It simply needs a reminder. That's where the 3 hidden pressure points come in. They act like manual reset buttons, reactivating the exact pathways that control natural erections. When touched correctly, they tell your brain, your nerves, and your blood flow, hey, we're still here, let's move. And before I show you the first point, the one located at the very root of manhood where everything begins, I want you to remember this: the real solution isn't outside your body. It's within you, waiting to be switched back on. The first pressure point I'm about to show you might look simple, but once you know how it works, you'll understand why so many of my patients call it the ignition switch. Stay with me. This is where the real change starts. Now that you understand why the body forgets, let's talk about how to remind it. And it all starts at the base, the exact place where strength is born and where it's most often lost. When I show this to my patients for the first time, they're usually surprised because the spot is hiding in plain sight. It's right where the shaft meets the pubic area. A subtle groove that feels like a hinge between your external and internal structure. I call it the base groove. This small area holds an incredible amount of power. Beneath the skin lies a web of sensory nerves, particularly the dorsal nerve of the penis, one of the main highways carrying messages to the spinal erection center. Alongside it runs a cluster of arteries that feed directly into the erectile chambers. Imagine a control hub where your blood flow and nerve signals shake hands. That's the base groove. When blood flow slows, or the nerves go quiet, this junction becomes stagnant. Think of it like a traffic light that's stuck on red. Nothing moves, and eventually the whole system falls out of rhythm. Gentle, deliberate pressure here acts like switching that light back to green. The circular motion isn't random. It wakes up those nerve endings and signals the vessels to widen, allowing more blood to rush in. In fact, studies from the European Urology Journal show that localized stimulation around the penile root can increase microvascular blood flow by up to 18% in just a few minutes. That's not placebo, that's physiology responding to contact. And that's exactly why I tell my patients this isn't a massage, it's communication. You're literally sending your body the message, wake up and work again. Here's how I guide them through it, using the thumb to press gently against that base groove, making slow, circular motions while supporting the shaft with the fingers underneath. The pressure should be firm enough to feel warmth, but never painful. Within a minute or two, most men notice a subtle tingling, a pulse, or even a gentle fullness, all signs that blood flow is reawakening and the tissue is responding. And if it doesn't happen right away, that's fine. The nervous system learns through repetition. Each session reinforces those dormant pathways, teaching them to react faster, just like retraining a muscle you haven't used in years. I've seen men in their 60s and 70s regain noticeable morning firmness within a few weeks simply by making this a 90-second daily ritual. But here's something most men don't expect. The next point isn't even on the shaft itself. It's hidden deeper in a spot that's often ignored, yet holds the secret to staying firm once you're there. Because what happens between the scrotum and the spine decides whether your strength lasts seconds or the entire night. Stay with me. The next point might shock you. When I teach men the second point, most of them look at me with the same mix of curiosity and disbelief because it's not on the shaft at all. It's tucked away in a quiet spot between the scrotum and the anus, a small stretch of soft tissue called the perineum. Most men never pay attention to it yet. It holds one of the most powerful secrets to staying firm. Here's why. Right beneath that surface lies the bulbospongiosus muscle part of the pelvic floor. Think of it as the body's natural clamp. It's the muscle that tightens during arousal to trap blood inside the penis, keeping it full and strong. But like any muscle, if it isn't used or stimulated, it weakens. That's why so many men, especially after 50, struggle to maintain firmness, not because their hormones are gone, but because this vital muscle has gone dormant. In clinical studies, such as one published in the British Journal of Urology International, strengthening the pelvic floor, improved erectile function in up to 75% of men within 12 weeks. That's not a myth, it's anatomy responding to consistent activation. And here's where the perineum becomes your secret weapon. By pressing and massaging this spot, you directly wake up the bulbospongiosus muscle, retraining it to engage during arousal. When I guide patients, I tell them to sit comfortably or lie back with knees apart, then use 2 fingers to apply gentle but steady pressure right in the center of the perineum. Now, the goal isn't force, it's awareness. Move in small circles, feeling the subtle response beneath your fingers. Within seconds, many notice a soft warmth or even a faint pulsing that wasn't there before. That's the muscle waking up, calling blood into the pelvic region like a pump, switching back on after years of silence. I've seen men who thought they were too old for change start feeling the difference within days, not just during intimacy, but even in posture, core, strength, and confidence, because when the pelvic floor reawakens, it doesn't only help the body perform, it restores how a man feels about himself. And here's what makes this even more fascinating. Combining the stimulation with light, Kegel-style contractions, multiplies the results. It's like tuning a guitar string. One hand activates the muscle, the other fine-tunes the control. Over time, that connection between nerve muscle and blood flow becomes sharper, faster, stronger. But the story doesn't end here, because while the perineum controls how long firmness lasts, the next point decides how quickly that spark ignites in the first place, and it's located at the most sensitive region of all, right beneath the head. Stay with me, because this final point is where everything you've learned so far comes together. After reactivating the base and strengthening the pelvic floor, it's time to complete the circuit, and the final point does exactly that. It's located right where sensation is richest, just beneath the head of the penis, along that circular ridge called the corona. Every man I've ever treated underestimates how powerful this spot can be, because it's not about pleasure alone. It's about communication. This is where your body translates touch into signal and signal into response. The corona holds an exceptionally dense cluster of sensory nerve endings. Think of it as the keyboard your brain uses to control arousal. When stimulation here is balanced, not too hard, not too fast, those nerves fire clean, strong messages straight to the spinal erection center. But if the area becomes desensitized from friction, stress, or lack of blood flow, those messages weaken. That's why many men tell me they can feel stimulation yet struggle to fully react. It's not the body ignoring arousal, it's the nervous system whispering instead of shouting. Controlled activation here retrains that signal. I usually instruct patients to take a gentle hold, thumb and forefinger, just beneath the ridge, and apply a steady press for about 5 seconds before slowly releasing. That brief hold increases localized blood pressure and wakes the nerve endings without overwhelming them. Then, light circular movements around the entire rim help spread the signal evenly. Within a minute or two, warmth or slight tingling is a sign that those nerves are switching back online. What fascinates me is how quickly the body adapts once communication improves. In one observational study from the Journal of Men's Health, men who practiced moderate rhythmic stimulation reported sharper sensitivity and stronger spontaneous erections within 3 weeks. It's like dusting off a set of wires that haven't carried current in years. Suddenly everything lights up again. I often describe this point as the ignition spark, the one that tells your brain, yes, it's time. When combined with the previous 2 zones, it completes a feedback loop that reconnects blood flow, muscle tone, and nerve response. You're not forcing anything. You're re-educating your own body to respond the way it once did, naturally and confidently. The best part: this same stimulation not only restores function, but also enhances overall awareness and control. Many of my patients notice they feel more connected, more alive, even outside the bedroom. That's because circulation and neural responsiveness here ripple outward, improving overall pelvic vitality. And here's the beautiful transition. Once all 3 points start working together, the changes don't just happen in isolation, they start forming a rhythm. Blood, nerve, and muscle move in harmony, again creating the kind of spontaneous morning strength most men thought they'd lost for good. Because what comes next isn't just about technique, it's about consistency, recovery, and lifestyle choices that keep this new vitality alive for the long term. When these 3 points start working together, something powerful happens. The system reconnects. I've watched patients who had lost hope feel the change within weeks, not because they found a miracle, but because they finally began treating their body like the intelligent network it is. The base groove opens the flow, the perineum locks it in, and the corona fine-tunes the response. When practiced in sequence, they create what I call the morning reflex circuit. The routine is simple, but precision matters. I recommend starting with the base groove for about 90 seconds. That's your warm-up where you wake the vessels and nerves that supply the entire region. Then shift your focus to the perineum for 2 minutes, slow, centered circles that reactivate the pelvic floor muscle and amplify internal pressure. Finally, finish with the corona for another 2 minutes, using that gentle hold and release rhythm, followed by slow rotations to sharpen nerve sensitivity. Altogether, it takes less than 6 minutes a day. Yet, the impact builds like compound interest. Consistency is everything. The body learns through repetition. Just as weight training strengthens a muscle, repeated activation strengthens the vascular and neural pathways responsible for firmness. A 2023 clinical follow-up in andrology reports found that men who practiced daily pelvic and nerve stimulation saw sustained improvements in erectile response and circulation after only 4 weeks. It's biology, not magic. The body simply responds to attention. I tell my patients to anchor the practice to a moment that's already part of their routine, right after waking, during a warm shower, or before sleep. When paired with deep breathing, it doesn't just improve blood flow, it lowers stress hormones that silently interfere with performance. Some even describe it as meditative, a way to reconnect with their body rather than fight against it. The key is subtlety. This is not about intensity or chasing instant results. It's about retraining the reflex rebuilding, that automatic morning signal that tells you your system is alive and responsive again. And when it clicks, you'll know. The warmth will come faster. The response will feel stronger, and over time, your mornings will start to feel familiar again, like they used to. Once you've built this foundation, the real transformation happens when you start pairing it with small lifestyle shifts, hydration, movement, and nutrition, the invisible trio that turns a short routine into a permanent change. Because waking the system is one thing, keeping it awake is another. Stay with me. The next part will show you how simple daily habits can lock these results in for good and make your renewed strength last for years, not weeks. Every time I guide a patient through this routine, I remind them of one truth. Progress doesn't end with technique. What keeps those results alive isn't what happens in 6 minutes, but in the other 23 hours and 54 minutes of your day. The body you train through touch needs the same respect through how you live. Start with hydration. Blood flow is the foundation of every strong erection, and it's mostly water. Even mild dehydration, just 1 to 2%, can thicken your blood and make your heart work harder to push it through smaller vessels. That's why I tell men to treat water as their simplest performance enhancer. A glass in the morning, 1 midday, and 1 before bed keeps circulation effortless and tissues nourished. Then comes movement. You don't need to live in the gym, you just need consistency. 20 minutes of brisk walking or light cycling each day improves endothelial function, the ability of your arteries to open up when blood demand rises. Research from the American Journal of Physiology shows this kind of daily movement boosts nitric oxide levels naturally, the same chemical most medications try to mimic. When you move, your blood moves, and so does your vitality. And finally, nutrition. What you eat either feeds or fights your circulation. I've seen men transform their vascular health simply by swapping heavy sodium meals for fresh produce rich in antioxidants, blueberries, spinach, pomegranate. Omega-3s from fish or flax help keep vessels supple, while cutting down processed sugars prevents the micro-inflammation that silently narrows them. Think of every meal as a message to your arteries, either stay open or start closing. These changes don't have to be dramatic. In fact, the smaller they are, the easier they become part of who you are. One of my patients, Robert, started with a single rule: 1 walk, 1 extra glass of water, 1 minute of breathing before bed. Within 6 weeks, not only had his morning firmness returned, but his blood pressure dropped, and he told me, "It feels like my body finally remembered me." That's what this process is really about, not chasing youth, but restoring connection. As a doctor, I've seen what happens when men give their bodies the environment to heal. Hormones balance more naturally, confidence rises, and even relationships shift from frustration to energy again. Because when circulation improves, it doesn't just reach one organ, it reaches the whole person. And as all these elements come together, the pressure points, the breathing, the water, the movement, something deeper happens. Your body stops fighting itself. It starts cooperating again, following the same biological rhythm that once made you wake up ready for the day. That's the moment I love most, to see in my patients' eyes not surprise, but recognition, because they realize it was never gone. It was only waiting to be remembered. Now that you understand how to keep the system alive, let's bring it all home, because the ending isn't really an ending. It's where everything you've learned turns into a new beginning. So here's what I want you to remember. Your body isn't broken. It's simply waiting for the right signal. When you combine these 3 pressure points with good hydration, movement, and smart nutrition, you're not just improving circulation, you're reawakening communication between your brain, your nerves, and your confidence. Every man I've seen succeed didn't do it through luck. He did it through small, consistent steps that told his body, "I'm ready to work with you again." If this video helped you understand your body a little better, save it and come back to it. Make these steps part of your morning rhythm, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. You'll be amazed at how fast your system starts to remember, and please take care of yourself beyond the physical. Rest well, manage stress, and give your body the same patience you'd give someone you love. Healing is never instant, but it always begins the moment you decide to start. If you found this helpful, tap like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. I share new health insights every week to help you protect your energy, your heart, and your vitality as a man. And tell me in the comments which part of today's routine surprised you most. I'd love to hear your story. You deserve to wake up strong, not just in body, but in spirit. Let's keep rebuilding that strength one day, one habit, and one heartbeat at a time.